Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a source that you, our listener, flagged for us, Just Murphy's The Power of Your Subconscious Mind.
Right.
You mentioned wanting to get knowledge quickly and thoroughly, so, our mission here is to really pull out the core ideas and see how they might genuinely, apply to your life.
Exactly. And we're going beyond just a quick summary. We want to understand this engine room, the subconscious mind, and figure out how you can consciously direct it steered towards what you want.
Yeah.
And Murphy covers some fascinating ground scientific prayer, that interaction between conscious and subconscious, the power of suggestion, mental healing, finding happiness, relationships, fear, wealth, even aging. It's quite a scope.
Okay, so the book kicks off by laying out this fundamental idea. The mind operates on two levels, conscious and subconscious. Can you maybe break that down for us a bit?
Absolutely. So your conscious mind, that's your everyday awareness. It's what you use to reason things out, make decisions, what to eat, where to go, It's the objective mind, dealing with the outside world through your senses.
Oh, thinking part.
The thinking part, yes.
Yeah.
Now, the subconscious, that's different. It's more automatic. It handles all the stuff you don't consciously think about, your heartbeat, digestion, breathing. It's also the seat of your emotions and your memory bank.
Right.
And the crucial bit here is that the subconscious is subjective. It accepts what the conscious mind impresses upon it, what it believes to be true. They're not really two separate minds, more like two functions, two spheres of activity within one mind.
Okay, and this leads straight into something Murphy really emphasizes, the power of suggestion. What does he mean by suggestion here, and why is it so important?
Well, suggestion is basically the act of putting an idea into someone's mind, or your own, for that matter. Now, the interesting thing is, your conscious mind can analyze the suggestion, maybe reject it if it doesn't fit your logic or beliefs.
Like the sailor example.
Exactly. Murphy uses that great example. The experienced sailor hears someone say, "You look like you're getting seasick," and their conscious mind, based on their belief in their immunity, just dismisses it. No effect. But then you have the timid passenger who hears the same thing, and because they're already anxious and perhaps believe they're susceptible, their conscious mind lets it through. The subconscious accepts it, and they start feeling ill.
So our own beliefs act as a kind of filter or a gatekeeper.
Precisely. And suggestions can come from outside, that's a heterosuggestion, or from ourselves, which is autosuggestion. The book is a pretty stark example of negative heterosuggestion. Yeah. The man who was told by a fortune teller he would die on a certain date.
And he did.
He did. Not because the prediction had inherent power, but because his conscious mind accepted it as true, and his subconscious mind, acting on that belief, brought it about. It shows how powerful negative suggestions can be if accepted.
Wow, that's intense. But the flip side is using this consciously for good, right? Like the singer overcoming stage fright.
Exactly. That's the constructive use. The singer was crippled by stage fright, but started deliberately using autosuggestion, affirming confidence, visualizing success, over and over.
So basically reprogramming that fear response.
Yes, reprogramming the subconscious. Same with the example of the person using affirmations to overcome a bad temper. Beginning today, I shall grow more good-humored. It's about consistently feeding the subconscious positive, constructive ideas.
Okay, now, this brings us to a concept that might raise some eyebrows. Murphy's idea of scientific prayer. How does he frame prayer? It sounds different from the traditional view.
It is a bit different. He presents scientific prayer as the harmonious interaction of the conscious and subconscious levels of mind, scientifically directed for a specific purpose. It's less about asking an external deity and more about aligning your conscious desire with your subconscious power.
So the desire is key.
Desire is the starting point, yes. He says desire is the very soul of prayer, and he argues it works based on a universal law of action and reaction. Your thought is the action, and the subconscious response is the reaction, bringing that thought into form.
So it's about impressing the idea onto the subconscious. What makes that impression stick?
Feeling and belief. You need to really feel the reality of the outcome you desire. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The book offers several techniques for this.
Like the mental movie one?
Yeah, the mental movie method, vividly picturing the end result, like seeing the check in your hand when selling property. There's also the Bhagwan technique, using short, sleepy state affirmations like, "It is finished in divine order."
Okay.
And the Thank You, Father technique, which builds gratitude for the good you desire before you see it. Affirmative prayer for healing, the argumentative method to convince yourself sickness, is based on false belief, decreeing release from problems, even absent treatment, praying for others by visualizing their wholeness.
So a whole toolkit, really.
A toolkit, exactly. all aimed at embedding that desired outcome deep within the subconscious mind with feeling and conviction.
Right. Okay, shifting slightly to health and healing. What role does the book assign the subconscious here? It seems central.
Very central. Murphy posits that the subconscious mind is literally the builder of the body. It maintains all vital functions and knows how to heal. So mental healing, in this view, is about consciously directing this innate healing intelligence within the subconscious.
And faith is the key ingredient.
Faith is crucial. But here, faith means belief, a deep, unwavering belief in the power of your own subconscious to restore health. He basically says there's only one healing process, and that's faith activating the subconscious power.
The examples in the book are pretty striking, Madame Beer at the shrine, the minister healing from lung cancer.
They are, and they illustrate the point. Whether it's faith in a shrine, faith in an affirmation, or even faith in a placebo, like the father healed by a ring he thought was special.
Ah, the placebo effect.
Exactly. It demonstrates the power of belief, directing the subconscious. Murphy even mentions Dr. Esdale using suggestion for anesthesia in surgeries back in the 1840s, before chemical anesthetics were common. It suggests the mind's profound influence over the body.
So the underlying idea is that disease often starts as a mental pattern.
That's the core idea, a negative mental pattern. And because the subconscious has this inherent drive towards life, towards wholeness, directing it positively can help reverse those patterns and restore health.
Which naturally leads us to happiness in relationships. The book boldly states happiness is a choice, a habit. How does the subconscious fit into choosing happiness?
Well, Murphy argues happiness isn't just down to luck or what happens to us. It's an internal state we cultivate. He gives the example of the farmer who made a daily habit of blessing his family and giving thanks, essentially programming his subconscious for happiness.
So repetition matters.
Repetition and genuine desire. You have to actually want to be happy and cultivate inner peace. He also references Philippians 4.8, think about things that are true, noble, right, pure, lovely.
Focusing the mind.
Focusing the mind on the positive. Because what you consistently focus on impresses the subconscious and shapes your emotional state.
And how does this play out in our relationships, our inner state affecting outer connections?
Massively. Murphy talks about our inner speech, the conversations we have in our heads about other people. He uses the example of a salesman whose career stalled because he constantly had negative mental arguments with his manager.
So what we think about others influences how things unfold.
Yes, because it affects our own attitude, our energy, and how we react. The book emphasizes that it's our reaction to what others do or say that determines our own peace of mind. Cultivating empathy, thinking well of others consciously, understanding the subconscious records these thoughts. These are pointers for better relationships. Striving for emotional maturity in our responses is key.
Let's talk about wealth. This is always a big topic. The book challenges the idea that it's just about hard work, right?
Right. It emphasizes the feeling of wealth. Murphy argues that the feeling of abundance actually precedes and helps attract wealth. Your dominant idea needs to be wealth, not poverty.
But what if you try to affirm wealth, but deep down you don't believe it?
That's the catch. He says negative thoughts, doubts, or envy can completely neutralize positive affirmations. If you say, I am wealthy, but feel lack, the feeling often wins out in the subconscious.
So the feeling is paramount.
Feeling and belief. He stresses that true wealth starts with ideas in the mind. And interestingly, he warns against resenting others' success, saying that creates a mental block to your own prosperity. He suggests consciously claiming wealth, feeling prosperous, even seeking divine guidance for investments. Dishonesty, he says, creates a subconscious expectation of loss. It's about cultivating an inner atmosphere of abundance and integrity.
And the story of the pharmacist visualizing his dream store.
That's a perfect example. He didn't just wish for it. He lived it in his mind. He repeatedly visualized owning and running that store down to the details. He impressed that clear picture onto his subconscious, which then, according to Murphy, guided events to make it happen.
Okay, let's tackle fear. The book calls it man's greatest enemy. How does the subconscious play into fear, and how do we combat it using these principles?
Murphy identifies fear simply as a negative thought lodged in the mind, but a very powerful one. He explains it can cause physical illness, mental blocks, even things like temporary amnesia triggered by anxiety.
Like stage fright. He mentions Caruso, right?
Yes, the famous tenor Enrico Caruso. Apparently, he suffered terrible stage fright, but he learned to speak directly to his subconscious, essentially commanding the little me fear to be quiet so the big me, his talent and confidence, could sing. It's about asserting conscious control over the fearful subconscious reaction.
So it's not just wishing fear away, there are actual techniques.
Definitely. He suggests practical things. Do the thing you are afraid to do. Replace the fear thought immediately with a constructive one. Focus intently on the opposite of your fear. If you fear failure, focus on success.
Makes sense.
He even shares his own story of overcoming a fear of water by repeatedly affirming safety and peace while imagining himself swimming. He draws a line between normal, healthy caution and abnormal fear, which is basically letting your imagination run riot with negative scenarios. The fix. Consciously direct your imagination towards the desired outcome instead.
Okay, finally, aging. The book's perspective seems quite countercultural.
It really is. Murphy pushes back against the idea that aging inevitably means decline. He argues you're as young as you think you are, that the mind itself doesn't grow old.
Challenging the societal focus on youth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He criticizes the tendency to sideline older people, highlighting the immense value of their wisdom and experience. He encourages viewing retirement not as an end, but as a doorway to new ventures, new learning.
So maintain a vision of vitality.
Exactly. Get a vision of yourself as vital, active, contributing, regardless of chronological age. He points to figures like Herbert Hoover, Socrates, Michelangelo, people who were highly productive late in life. The core idea is that qualities like peace, love, joy, wisdom, these things are timeless. They don't age.
So wrapping this all up, the fundamental message from The Power of Your Subconscious Mind seems to be what? That we have this incredibly powerful resource inside us.
Precisely. That our subconscious mind is this immense power, constantly working, constantly responsive to our dominant thoughts, beliefs, and feelings, whether we direct it consciously or not. And it shapes, well, pretty much everything in our lives.
Health, wealth, happiness, relationships.
All of it. Murphy's work is really a call to recognize this power and take the helm. It suggests we have far more agency in creating our life experiences than we might think by learning to consciously work with our subconscious.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, listening. Think about one area in your life right now where you'd really like to see a positive change. Based on what we've discussed, how could you start, maybe even today, to consciously impress your subconscious with that desired outcome? What mental movie could you begin to play in your mind?
Yeah, what feeling could you start to cultivate?
Something to consider. We really encourage you to explore these ideas further, see how understanding this power within might open up possibilities for you. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.